I am Daryl McNair. I am with Colonial Gardens Alzheimer's Special Care Center, and I am clumsy as I jot things. For those of you that are new to our webinars, if I speak, I think I'm the funniest guy in the world. And I would like you to agree with me. So please feel free to laugh. Even if you're just patronizing me, that's fine as well. So there we go. That was the first dud right there. Everybody that's joining from out in the West Coast and other places, thank you. I see there's a number of you out there. Carlos, thank you. Carlos did LOL. Thank you, Carlos.
We'll edit in some applause for you.
Exactly. I'm going to send another meal out to you. Did you get the last meal, Carlos, from that I sent to California? Yeah, it might have got lost in the fires. So I joke about the fires, but please, sir, please be careful, and the rest of your family and friends. I hope you all stay safe. So as you know, I cannot start a session without talking about this project. The Lisa's Care Connection, I always say, is the best kept secret in the area, and it is. So I would like to challenge each and every one of you, whether today is your first day or whether this is your third or fourth year, please tell somebody about Lisa's Care Connection, because all of us know somebody who is a caregiver or has been a caregiver and needs that outlet, needs that resource. So why not share? So please share. Keena and Marty do an excellent job. And I love the fact that Lisa says she wants to be a hub for caregivers, a hub of information for caregivers. I think that's the perfect description for what we have here. So with that being said, we're going to go on. Our topic today is going to be caregiver support. Now, you all are caring for somebody. And by show of hands, who would say that caregiving is a stressful job? Everybody agree with the three-letter word I used? This is a job that we do. Okay, we're not getting paid for it, but in a way we are. We're actually caring for our loved one. Our loved one is getting that care that they need. So that's our payment, if you will, but it's still frustrating. So what I'd like to do today is talk to us a little about some tips and tricks on how we might be able to identify the fact that we might be stressed, and B, what to do about it. So first off, and I'm going to actually use something that I picked up some months ago from here. I'm just going to throw some questions at you. And again, by show of hands, or for those of you that are online, if you just want to yell something out that you definitely understand, that would be great. So I'm going to throw some scenarios at you, and I would like you to just agree if you're running into those. Okay? Anybody here missing any sleep? Raise your hand. Okay? That's everybody in the room. How about anybody? It says on here loss of hair. I think that was picking on me. Anybody have any? Well, with loss of sleep, I imagine there's fatigue that comes with that. Is that correct? Okay. All righty. How about back pain? Anybody have any back pain? Okay, I'm seeing it's just blowing up online as well. So, what? Be blessed, my friend, Jack. How about any of us during this time that we've been caregiving? Have any of us lost weight? Okay, so we've lost weight. Now we've gained weight. Okay, see, my mom's been gone 4 years. However, I've gained the weight since she's been gone. Prior to, I lost it. So now I'm going to ask another question. Those were physical symptoms that we've noticed. Or since I brought those up, did anybody go, you know, I am? Has anybody thought that once I brought it up, or have you noticed it prior to? So those are physical signs. Now I'm going to talk about something different. Has anybody here found themselves depressed at any time since caregiving? Okay. How about a little anxious? Yeah. Okay. All righty. How about we find that we're not our usual happy-go-lucky self. These and others are signs of that emotional toll that caregiving is taking on us. I'm going to mention a couple more emotional tolls here, just because it is, we don't think about it right off. So it says anxiety, we touched on that. We touched on depression, moodiness, mood swings. I would get into mood swings. You feel like you have butterflies for some odd reason. Yeah. Feel butterflies? Anxiety. You start getting a little that weird feeling in your gut when you wake up in the morning. Oh goodness, I've got to do this again. Oh, I have to take mom to the hospital today. This is going to be a chore. It's been a week and a half. Now I have to go ahead and get them changed or get them showered. And you just get that anxious feeling. How about irritability, easily frustrated? Anybody beside me, road rage? Do you take it out on the person that cuts you off? Do you yell at them? I'm the only one? Well, God bless all of you. Look out when you leave here today, because I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy. Miss Carolyn, is that you? Move! Phobias, being argumentative, feeling of isolation. Let's touch on that real quick. Since we've been caregivers, especially if we're caregivers for someone with dementia, do you find yourself not going out quite as much? Yes. Mr. Jack, may I? You were like, oh yeah. Can I ask why? Can you give me one reason why? Why don't you go out that much?
Well, I don't drive at night anymore, for one thing. That kind of hampers our activities.
Yes, sir.
We love our home and enjoy being there. Our kids are close by, which is comforting, so.
Excellent.
Really,
So the fact that you just don't drive at night anymore is a factor.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Especially later in the year.
Yes, when it starts getting dark early. Yeah. Bill?
First, you just can't say, let's go out. It's gonna take probably 2 hours to get her dressed and everything like that. That's pretty much average time. When we do go out somewhere, I can handle most everything except when Betty will not get up. She has a habit, not only when we're out, of wiping things with her napkin.
Yes.
You know, one of those repetition things, she
Yes,
does
sir.
it for a couple hours on our kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get ready to go, I want to go home. You know, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I
Just
think
wipe
some
the
of the
table.
people around us are looking and thinking, what is he saying to his wife? You know, he can tell my body language, come on, Betty, and then I'll stand up and she won't get up. I sit back down. So yeah, that is one of the biggest reasons
Prep
that
time.
we don't go out. And we used to go out and eat a lot.
That is a good point, the prep time, and that makes for a nice segue. For those of you that are here in the center today, and for those of you online, they have typed up these cards. And I ran into this idea about 2 years ago, and I've been saying, I need to do it, I need to do it, I need to do it. And subsequently I forget. But it says, hi, I'm a person with Alzheimer's, and they're going to change it for dementia. Sometimes I have a person with, and sometimes they may get easily confused or repeat questions or take longer to make decisions. So if you have this when you go to a restaurant or to a doctor's office or to wherever you go, it is the perfect opportunity to kind of dispel some of the stigma, if you will, some of the looks that you get, so that when you sit down at a table and the server comes up, you can automatically give them the card first and then carry on the conversation. Because that way they're aware that this might be a little bit of a different table than my usual tables. So these cards are excellent. They're on the table here, they're out front.
And we will mail them to anyone online that maybe doesn't feel comfortable coming here or is I know a lot of our California friends that their center is unopened. We are happy to mail however many you need, so just let us know.
Excellent. Thank you, Tina.
I used 2 in one day
2 in one day?
last week.
Would
yeah.
you mind sharing what?
First, I went to Ace Hardware, and he went butting into the head of the line, I'm like, oh, embarrassed about that, and so I just handed them a card, and they just kind of looked at me, no problem, and that was it wasn't, I didn't have to do it, but it was nice. And then we went out to eat, and he just proceeded to give her a $15 tip, a $20 tip on a $15 order.
Wow.
And I thought, yeah, we could just let this go, but I didn't really want to, so I just handed her that, and she said, I'm gonna bring you out another tab, okay? And so that settled everything, but,
It is.
people are very helpful, very responsive.
So we hear on the news all the time about how mean people are, and you see people having fights on airplanes, and you see people arguing about this or that or politics or whatever the case. These cards will bring out the best in people. These cards will show you that there are people out there that do have grace. These cards can save a lot of trouble. And it's also being graceful to the people that you're going to be around. For example, I spoke with a woman this week who came to our community looking for some assistance. She wasn't ready to bring, her father to a community, but she just needed a resource. And I'm quick to say, if you need a resource, my job is to bring people to Colonial Gardens, but my calling is to just be a resource. And I can go to bed at night if I'm able to turn around and answer someone's question. So she told me that they went to a restaurant, Lizard Stickit, as a matter of fact. And her father at this point, she did not believe was too advanced in his dementia diagnosis. So she finished eating, everything was going fine. I'm gonna get up and use the restroom. She's done it before. She got up, went to the restroom. She comes back to the server, bringing her dad back to the table. He wasn't trying to leave. He had gone to another table and started pulling food off the other table.
Wow.
The cards can save a lot of what could be disturbing, embarrassing moments. And it shouldn't be embarrassing. What we're experiencing, the journey that we're on, should not be embarrassing. It's something that happens in life. Whether it's dementia, whether it's cancer, whether it's my dad had ALS, whatever the circumstances, it shouldn't be embarrassing. But we have those feelings. The cards help. So please feel free to take as many as you think you might need. So I was asking you those questions earlier about the emotional signs and the physical signs. My back hurts, or being embarrassed. So I'd like to talk to you now about, and I'm going to ask for feedback as I always do. But I'd like to find out, how do you cope with some of these things? Yes, Ms. Carol.
First, I'd like to make a comment about the card.
Yes, ma'am.
Not only having some that say dementia or Alzheimer's, but a lot of people just have short-term memory problems and don't want to be considered to yet have dementia or Alzheimer's. It would be nice to have cards that can be handed out. This person has some short-term memory problems. So then if someone walks away, if the rest of us go to the restroom, who knows, they could have walked outside, but yet the server would notice that and say, oh, don't you want to come back to your table or something like that?
The
And
blessing.
yet not full dementia, and yet there are short-term memory problems, and there are many reasons that cause that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
unfortunately.
And it doesn't have to be dementia.
No,
So the comment was that the cards are nice because people that just have short-term memory issues might need just a little bit of help for the people around them so that people understand what's going on. And it's also nice because this way you're not saying in front of your loved one, My wife has dementia. Because you don't necessarily want to say that in front of her or him. So, very good point. Thank you. So for circumstances such as, let's say we have a bad back and we're caring for our loved one, but yet we feel like we're obligated to, for sickness and in health, we have to be there to help. And we do. I mean, we're their advocate, we're their caregiver. So what can we do if we know we have a bad back and my mother has a tendency to fall quite a bit? Is anyone experiencing something similar to that?
Well, you call the 911 and say we need a lift.
Bingo. Bill brings up the fact that you can call 911 and the local fire department, a lot of times, most of them, will be gracious enough to come by and help. So there's a resource.
No cost.
No cost. Now, after a while, after like the third time, they start getting a little persnickety in some cases, in some jurisdictions.
They charged us the very first time
Did they?
that I called for them to come pick me up because I do have a bad back and they and they charged us the very first time.
That's why I said in most cases.
Yeah.
Really depends on what area you're in. And because if there's an area where there's a lot of this, they might want to try to deter those calls.
You can also give them a bag of chocolate that's enough for the whole firehouse.
Chocolate, cookies, you're ahead of me on this. Are you reading my notes? But you're on task, you're on target there. So that you don't end up being charged, what can you do? Bribing works wonders. Or you go there when you have a break, and you go to the firehouse and say, forgive me. I just want to give you one of these. My name is Daryl McNair. My mother has dementia. I have a bad back. I have this, I have that. I am unable to lift her should she fall. I may call you. Is that okay? And then you're laying the groundwork out ahead of time. And I hear it from the background. Thank you. You're very right, Miss Sheila. And have a bag of candy or cookies or steak available at that particular time. Preferably steak. I'm going to be in your neck of the woods.
I'd like to say, I can't speak for everywhere. We live right outside Irma. When they come in, they are beautiful, so helpful. They don't seem to even mind. We had a crew come in and 6 people came in. And I said, whoa, okay. And they said, we just came from a fire and we got this call. So they all came, they were sweaty and all this kind of stuff, which didn't bother me, but I'm thinking, oh, these poor guys. But they were just as nice as they could be.
Yes. So it is. And how about, what else can we do besides rely on the fire department? Yes, ma'am.
Well, try to have a group set up ahead of time, whether it's through an organization or your church or friends who have strong backs or whatever, that think about something ahead of time as to what might happen and have people who would be willing to help you.
If you recall from some of the talks we've had in the past, my favorite saying is stop, breathe, take a step back and punt. That to me is doing what I just said. You want to be able to have that contingency plan in place. Thank you, Ms. Carolyn. That is so true. Have the backup plan, have your support system already set up. Now, some of us don't have immediate support here in the area. We have some folks who the kids are close by. We have some folks, kids are in St. Louis. And so it's a long drive for them to come from St. Louis to Columbia to help pick somebody off the floor or to help clean up the mess that happened. I'm using the back as an example, but there's so many other things. If we have that support system, we might be able to find that the back the migraines, or when I do have a migraine and it has nothing to do with my mother, that I have someone that could come over for an hour, for 15 minutes, just to help. Excuse me a second. I don't mean to be in everyone's face here, but I saw something pop up. If anyone would like a set of these cards mailed to you, just let us know. Oh, thank you, Keena. So, but that support system, whether it's a child, whether it's your next door neighbor. These days, it's different than when a lot of us grew up. When a lot of us grew up, we knew our neighbors across the street, next door. I remember there was a flood in my area. I grew up in New Jersey. There was a flood in our area, and my father looked at me after the rain started to calm down a little bit. He ended up putting on, he was in the Army, so he had a big Army poncho. And I was a lot thinner and smaller then, and he walked up to me and he hit me and he said, "Come on, boy." And so I'm like, "Okay, Daddy." My dad said, "Jump." I jumped. And I said, "Where are we going, Daddy?" And he said, "We're going to see if we can help some people." And he opened up the poncho. I got in the poncho. He went ahead and buttoned it up. And then we went out and we walked door to door. That's just what you did in our neighborhood. Wow. It's just what you did. Times are different. We don't necessarily do that these days. We're more me-centric. However, it's good to have that backup plan, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a child, whether it's a cousin. Let's talk about emotional support.
Can I say one more?
Yes, sir, please.
Let's also remember there's a pre-thing you should do before they fall. You know what I'm saying?
What's that, sir?
Well, all kinds of special things. For instance, when Betty's time for her to go to bed, she's falling asleep in this lift chair. So I wake her up and I get her up and I get her a walker. And I said, "Now make sure your feet aren't asleep." And then I trail her real close. And sometimes she starts doing that. I get her back straight. That I can still do. I can't get her off the floor anymore. It's just dead weight. But I find that my mind is saying, okay, is what we're doing safe? Or am I gonna have to call the fire department?
Yes, sir. Good point. So being prepared. So you have that backup plan, but prior to, be prepared. I'll talk about the emotional piece here in just a second, but I would like to speak to that. So here's for those of us that have a loved one, whether it's dementia or whatever, anybody experience, "I don't want to shower. It's time to clean up. Let's take a shower." No. "But you stink, Mom." No. Or, "Baby, you're my son. You're my baby. You're not going to bathe me." A lot of times when people, when we get older, when we have these signs and symptoms, this diagnosis, a lot of times people are averse to having a bath. So you want to take advantage of it whenever you have a good day and they say, "Okay." You want to make sure you have their bath ready. You already want to have the lighting right. You want to have, if they are a fan of aromatherapy, have that special scent, the lavender in the bathroom. Have the water at the temperature that's going to work well for them. Have 4, 5, 6 different towels already set up. 2, 3, 4 different rags. Why do multiple towels make a hill of beans when it comes to this? Anybody?
The towel?
Yeah, why would you want to have multiple towels? If you
Well,
have
with my wife, she tends to be cold. And so as I help her, I can't help her shower because she said that's inappropriate, but I can do a sponge. And so I'll put towels on her and work on different parts and then move those towels around just to keep her warm.
Keep her warm. But what about those folks that are modest? In our community, in our building, we have those individuals who they don't want you to help shower them because they're modest. They don't want you seeing what they have. So you end up having them, you say, "Okay, well, get undressed, let's put this towel on. And let's put one over your shoulders as well." So now they're a little bit more comfortable, ending some of that anxiety that they might feel. Well, then at that point, it's not a matter of just stepping them in the shower. Again, being prepared. Let's get one of those pull down faucets on a hose. And still, we don't want to start at the top of the head or on the chest. What have you learned? Matter of fact, I get a text from my daughter. I had to kind of bite my tongue on this one, but they were having a tornado drill yesterday because there were tornado warnings in the area. Okay, so they're in the hallway, California. You might have had earthquake drills. They're in the hallway, and what do? For those of us old enough to remember drills that we had back when we were younger, if anything happened to happen because we're in the war, there was a Cold War, what did you do? Get on your knees and you cover your
Duck and cover.
duck and cover. So if someone throws something at you, you cover your face or your chest. So long-term memory still there. They're still trying to protect that. So the last thing you want to do is say, come on, Bill, we're taking a shower, and start spraying his head. It's not going to work in a lot of cases. So what you do is you go ahead and get a shower chair so they can sit down and be comfortable. Before you start the shower, you talk to them. You just talk to them about anything that's going to make them feel well. Now, mind you, does this happen? Does this work 100% of the time? Yeah, I wish. I'd be a millionaire. I'd go talk more often. But when they see you nice and comfortable, then you mention, you know what? I think we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start this water. Not let's take the shower now. I'm going to start this water. And you start the water and you just feel it as you're still talking about fishing or whatever it happened to be. And you make sure the water is where you want the temperature. And say, and you can do one of two things we've found that works a lot of the time, not all the time. You sit there and you joke and you play and you say a joke or something, you get them kind of loose and laughing a little bit and you spray their feet. You spray your feet. Or you turn around and say, you start off right away and just say, okay, well, this water feels real good. Whoa, I didn't mean to spray myself. They start laughing. You think that's funny? You spray their feet. Now all of a sudden, one of two things happen. Well, one of three things happen. One, they're loosened up and they've been introduced to the water. Two, they think it's a joke. They take it from you and you start going back and forth. So now you're wet too. It doesn't matter if you're wet. You're going to get wet anyway. Or three, they get mad. And then you just forget everything else Daryl talked about. But laughter, levity is the best medicine. That cliche is there for a reason. So if you can get them loose, get them laughing, you start at the feet and say, okay, well, you know what? Now that we're wet, why don't we go ahead and get suds done? And you've already had a wet rag ready. Say that 10 times fast. You already have soap on it, some of that liquid soap. So since we're already wet, let's get going. Let's start up. And you keep on talking about nothing. And you start going for those lower extremities. And you get a little higher. Okay, now, I don't want to get there because that's inappropriate. Ha, 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 ha. While you wash there, I'm going to rinse off down where we just were. Do you see how that might alleviate a little bit of anxiety for everybody? Again, does it work all the time? Not in the least. But if it works 70% of the time, life is better.
Starting at the feet is, I would say, is a really good place to start. They don't seem to mind that so much. It's more up here where the private or the cold.
Yes, sir. But you keep that towel around their shoulders, they're being covered. So modesty is hopefully subsided a little bit. They're keeping warm. You might even wet the towel ahead of time and let it be warm. So now it's warm for them. And you work your way up. Now, yes, ma'am. Putting a space heater in the bathroom. That's a good idea. Please be careful. For anybody that happens to be, a fire person or any of that nature, be careful where you put it, because now this could the techniques I'm sharing could be kind of water all over the place. And the last thing you want is to have a towel lay on it. That's a good spot. Or if you have a spot where you can put in one of those warming lights, you can do that. Miss Carolyn, did I see your hand?
Yes, I was just going to say that a lot of people do not consider that as people get older, the skin gets thinner. And I know we had a relative who was in a care home and she constantly complained, and they didn't care, that it was painful for her to get a bath because they were scrubbing her skin so hard. So that's something to consider when trying to get the person clean. They're not running around in the mud or anything, so you don't really have to scrub as hard, and people's skin is thinner and more sensitive as they get older.
So true. People's skin does get thinner as we get older in a lot of cases. And if that's the case, the last thing you want to do is scrub so hard. But you could also go to, maybe not from Walmart, but you can go to Bed Bath & Beyond and get those rags and those towels that are a lot softer. It might be a bit of an investment, but it's cheaper than having a skin tear that is hard to heal and you end up going to the doctor's office. Yes, sir.
When my wife takes a shower, I put a couple of clean towels in the dryer. So when she gets out, it's two nice warm towels for her.
So we just brought up that when his wife is in the shower, he'll put nice clean towels in the dryer so they're nice and warm when they come out. Nothing better than a warm towel or a warm robe that just came out of the dryer. Thank you, sir. So, so you said, wait a minute, Daryl, you said that today's topic was going to be about us, about caregiving. Well, let's break down what I've just talked about. The shower. Not only are they sitting in a shower chair, let's get to it. Because now you're down on their level and you're sitting down as well. My back hurts, but it's not going to hurt hopefully as bad doing this than it would be doing this. Okay. Now, yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, when you say get a lot of towels, what I would suggest instead of using a regular towel, regular size towel, buy a couple of bath towels.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know, that'll cover a lot of
Bath towels, or even, how about this? Beach towels.
beach towels.
Beach towels are huge. Now, the beach towels, though, can be a little rougher on the skin. So we have to gauge our loved one's skin. But bath towels, beach towels, those big ones, perfect. Miss Sheila, excellent example. Thank you. Excellent. So this helps us. Now, all of a sudden, we know that they're getting clean. So how does that make you feel? Okay. Now, we're not worried about hygiene quite as much. Let me ask a question talking about hygiene. And this could be show of hands or comments or what have you. So, Bill, how many? No, I'm not going to do that. So most of us grew up that you should shower or bathe on a daily basis, right? For the most part. Does mama, does your wife, does your husband, does your loved one need to be bathed every day? And if we say yes, why? We say yes because that's been our culture. That's what we were taught. So that's what we go by. One of the easiest things to help us as caregivers is to meet an individual where they are. Which means if they don't want a shower or a bath 7 times a week, then you give them a shower or a bath as often as you can.
You've been talking to Kushner.
Why do you say that?
I was trying to remember his first name, the movie star that said they didn't bathe every day, or they didn't bathe their baby every day or something.
Well,
They waited until they saw dirt.
well, I'm not saying wait till you see dirt. Because a lot of times what our loved ones do is they might have an accident or an accident. So we might not see it, but Lord knows we smell it. So when it happens, and not all the time do we need to give a person a full shower or a full bath. It can be a sponge bath. It can be wipes. It can be, and sometimes it's just wipes and powder. Because you want to meet an individual where they are at that particular time. But one thing in particular, especially, forgive me, but for females that we're caring for, we have to make sure that stays clean. The last thing we want is a UTI. For men as well, but women are more susceptible. We want to make sure that things are clean. Because UTI, if you're ever wondering, I don't remember my mother acting this way before. The first thing you want to do is you kind of gauge it and see how long it is. And then you turn around and say, we're going to go to the doctor and have them do a UA, a urine analysis, and see if she has a UTI. Let's get her on some antibiotics. Antibiotics will cause a behavior. And I'm telling you this for your well-being. My mom's gone, but for your well-being, because the last thing, the UTI can cause behaviors that it's not good for your loved one, and it's not good for you either. Okay, so let's go back to emotional. How are we looking for time? Oh, cool. Okay, you guys have been great with this, your input. Yes, ma'am.
But talking about urinary tract infection, often something that people don't consider, and it's the same thing for children in all ages, is making sure that people have enough water every day. And
Yes.
that's particularly maybe difficult in terms of someone older.
So it was brought up that we want to make sure people stay hydrated. And it could be difficult with folks that with dementia or just us getting older that might not want to drink water all the time, or it might be difficult for them to drink water. So what do you think are some suggestions, or how have you all tackled the hydration issue? Yes, ma'am.
We had to take my dad to a nephrologist because he was dehydrated. And we made half a gallon jug and we put times on it. And at certain times of the day, we should try to drink this much, try to drink this much. The doctor recommended it, but we had just done it on our own. It's hard.
That's a great suggestion. I've been getting a little overweight. And so I go to the gym now, not that you can tell yet, it's only been a few weeks. I have lost some weight, not that you all care because you didn't ask, I didn't come here for that. However, I'm proud of myself. But what Miss Melanie was saying is that you can get like a gallon jug, mark times of the day, and suggest or offer, encourage them to drink some water at the times that are on the jug. Me going to the gym, I bought one of those 128 gallon jugs, and I try my best to drink it to keep up with the time. It didn't dawn on me using it for a loved one as well. Great suggestion, thank you. I'll be using that a lot. I don't pay royalties, but thank you. So I told you I think I'm funny. So that's a very good idea. But we want to stay hydrated. Anybody else have an idea? Yes, ma'am.
My husband and I have happy hour. And he gets my undivided attention, and it's kind of like our date for the day or whatever. So we sit down for an hour and we have a drink or two, and not alcoholic. Mine sometimes is, but it never is. And he enjoys that, and I enjoy it, and we'll watch the news or whatever, and
I love that suggestion.
then we eat dinner.
I love the suggestion. If you didn't hear, it's have a happy hour. It's where you give your loved one undivided attention. And you sit down and you're having drinks, sometimes alcoholic, sometimes not. And but it's a perfect way to get someone to start drinking some water. Maybe right before you eat dinner. You know what? Before we eat, let's make it part of our routine. We're going to drink some water first. So people have used popsicles. Because who says no to ice cream? Who says no to a popsicle? It takes us back to our childhood. In Colombia, during this time of year, give me a popsicle. Heck, you can stick dirt on a stick and freeze it, and I will start eating it because it's hot around here. So, to give my praises, you're dirt on a stick. I'd rather lick your foot earlier for someone that talked about some other food I don't eat, but yes, sir.
The question is that why are we so much after drinking water? Is our human system not smart enough to ask us that, hey, I am thirsty, drink water?
Very good question. The question was, why are we so water hungry? Is the body not smart enough to say, hey, it's time to drink water? Very good question. Now, let's remember, we're talking, and what we've been talking about mostly here are for those individuals that might be going through the diagnosis of dementia or even some other chronic illness, and water is just not on their mind. So that dehydration comes easily. My child is 12 years old, and as much as she runs, she plays softball, she plays soccer, she is just 12 years old, she's running here and there. She doesn't stop and think about water. Even though she's thirsty, she'll come inside and be, what's wrong? I don't know. Have some water. She gets headaches because she's dehydrated. So very good question, but a lot of times we take it for granted. For those of us that watch news and pay attention to our doctor and listen to what they say, we have to drink this amount. I just started going to the gym a few weeks ago. I have that jug, 128 ounces a day they want me to drink. But before I started going to the gym, I would be blessed if I drank more than one. Matter of fact, I got water to drink, and I haven't shut up long enough to have it. So circumstances come up and we just don't think about it. So sometimes we have to encourage people to drink water. Speaking of encouraging, I'm going to take that second. Thank you, sir.
I was thinking that sometimes when they don't want to drink water, I know my mom was very competitive. And if you made drinking the water to see who could drink the most water a game and use the bottle that you talked about with the markers.
With the markers,
To see, and you could sit there and intentionally not drink as much, so she would think that she was beating you by drinking more.
So knowing
So
your
you
loved
turn it
one,
into a game.
you can turn it into a game, especially if they're competitive. Love that idea. And you sit there, take what was mentioned earlier by Melanie, put those marks on a jug, maybe not a gallon jug, make it smaller, and see who can drink the most in the amount of time, and see who wins. And if they win, they can get something maybe even that they really like, some yogurt or a chocolate candy bar. Keeps coming back to that, back in that peanut gallery back
The
there.
dark chocolate, right?
It's healthier.
I'm after the candy bar.
So that's a great idea though. So make it a game. So this is why I've had people ask me in the past, why is it that you always ask us questions? Two reasons. One, I've had my journey. I'm helping where I can. I don't know everything. Listening to Keena, you think when I walk in the room, you should go, oh, it's Daryl. Thanks, Keena. I appreciate the support though. But no, I'm learning every day. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 new ideas that I can take back to my community and see if I can help my residents drink more water. So for that, I thank you guys for you being the speakers today. Yes, sir.
My wife is right on the verge of always being dehydrated because she doesn't get thirsty.
Mhm.
And so I've been fighting this for a long time, trying to get her. What I found, use a bigger glass, put more ounces in front of her. We get her drinking.
Good idea.
A clear glass with a colored liquid. You don't have to, if you've got one, something with a cherry flavor, put some water and some of that flavor in there, it turns it red. Now they can see that.
Yes.
My wife, when we go out to eat, she always wants a straw. So I went to Walmart and I got some of these stainless steel drawers that you can wash and stuff.
Yes, sir.
She doesn't drink anything without the straw. That's it. And then it's still a battle. Because if I can get 4 12-ounce glasses in her,
That's excellent.
that would be a wonder. It's really hard.
I understand, but the fact that you said if you can get 4 12-ounce, there's folks out there not even getting that much unless they're being encouraged. So I applaud you for getting her.
No,
That-
she wouldn't do it that at all, because that's a fight to get those four.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with us being able to get folks hydrated, with us being able to get folks to take a shower, is that going to make us feel a little bit better? Is it going to make us a little less stressed? Is it going to make us want to go out and do the tango somewhere? No. But for that minute of that day, you've accomplished something. And quite frankly, human nature, we need to accomplish something. When we're dealing with a chronic illness, especially dementia and the different types of dementia, we deal with negatives all day long. So if we can get some positives, then that's going to help us. Because here's my concern, and this is why I always come back to you, the caregiver. That's why I always push Lisa's Care Connection. Because if you get ill and you are the primary caregiver for mom, husband, wife, sister, brother, whomever, and you end up in the hospital, and I see it all too often, who's going to care for you? I left that little dramatic pause there for a reason. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to ask questions. We have to learn not to get frustrated, which is so blasted hard. We have a resident that joined us 6-8 months ago. She's deaf. She's blind. She's still able to walk with a walker. So, and she is so desperate to be independent. So if you put your arm around her and try to guide her, get off me. She'll kick at you. She'll take the walker and swing it, not knowing where you are, but she's swinging the walker, hoping she's going to hit you. So what we've been doing is saying, all right, miss, come on, it's time to eat. Let's go eat. I can't see you. Can you hear me? Yes, ma'am. Now we're talking louder than I am now. So come on, you're doing great. Come on, you're doing great. Come on. We've had her 6-8 months. You know what she does now when she wants to do something? She'll sit somewhere. Come on. It's funny because I said it 4 times. Try sitting there 5 minutes and listening to that. You want to go into the kitchen and put your head on the stove. So all my building does is dementia. We do cognitive impairment. That's all we do. So, but we always find something new. So we have other people who have cognitive impairments. We have one gentleman, just as the most laid back individual in the world. Billy's about your height, so he's about 10 feet 9. And he'll find a chair, I don't care if it's just a little stand-up chair, one of these little settees or a love seat. He will lay in that chair like this, just lean back and throw his legs over the edge. And he's tall. And so he just kind of flops over. He's laying in the chair here. She's in another room and she's yelling, come on. And I went by and I checked on her and she's fine once you get there because this is the way she gets attention. So that's her, she's learned, this gets people to come to me. And he's laying in this thing and I come out and I'm talking to him and he loves the Gamecocks. So we're talking Gamecocks 1936. And he's laying there and he calls me coach. Yeah, coach. Then he looks at me and says, excuse me. Will you shut up? And then he looks at me and he says, you have some people here that are crazy. Sir, everybody here has dementia. So Again, we're laughing at this.
Why does he do that? Why does he get into these little, my husband does that too. He's very tall and he'll take a nap like that for his feet. I mean, why doesn't he just get in the freaking bed?
Did he do it? Did he do it when he was before diagnosis?
No,
Maybe it's a comfort thing now. Maybe it is.
it's right
I'm
in
not
the
sure.
middle of everything.
Oh, perfect. That's it then. That's the easiest place to be. Something's happening, because we're men. We're the protector, we're the provider. I have to be there. So if it's in the middle of everything, he's probably saying, I'm where the action is. So, and dementia is such an ugly and weird disease that makes us do things. I can't tell you how many times I had the preacher's wife come to me. My husband, he was a good Pentecostal preacher. My husband, he was a man of the cloth for 45 years. My husband, let me guess, was he a pastor? How'd you guess? Lucky guess. But I've never heard him speak like that. He would be appalled to know that those words are coming out of his mouth. And I almost brought these pictures, and I'll do it next time if I remember. But if you think back when you were in school, a brain, the pictures of the brain you see, it's that little globular thing. And there's lines in it, but the lines are they're small lines because it's one glob against another glob, and there's just some space there. And the average brain is about 7 pounds. For those of us with bigger heads like me, you might get more, but most of that is water. But you turn around and look at a brain that has been affected by dementia or Alzheimer's, it's literally shrunk. It has lost weight. Those little lines in there, the spaces are greater because the brain literally deteriorates. So for that individual, and I'm sharing this because this will hopefully help us as well. For that individual who never spoke that way, that never did this, that never did that, always did this, always did that, and they don't do it anymore, it's because that part of the brain may no longer be accessible to receive information. Those synapses might be covered by the plaque. Whatever the case might be, cheapest note, you might have heard me say this before. So we get this information, some of you have been taking notes. So we get this new information. When we go home, you might look at it again, you might put it in the computer, whether it's the computer or you're old fashioned like me and you go to the room with the file cabinet and you stick it under, whatever, D for dementia, C for class. What I just did, imagine that's the brain. There's no file cabinet, even though I just tried to file it somewhere. So it just disappears. So that's what's happening to the filters. That's why all of a sudden that preacher or mama or my wife starts talking the way they do. That's why they might end up getting mean. They wouldn't have harmed a fly if it flew in the house. They put down a piece of sugar for it. And now they see it, the first thing they're doing is they start cursing and swinging and trying to kill it, knocking things over. My uncle would do anything in the world for you. He's one of the chief engineers on the World Trade Center. Dementia guy. He's sitting there talking to my Aunt Pat one day at breakfast. He's sitting there waiting for his waffles. Aunt Pat evidently didn't bring the waffles out quick enough. And he overturned the table. Boom! Scared my Aunt Pat to death. And he started fussing and cussing at her. Now, in life, my Aunt Pat was the fusser and the cusser. I don't know why you always do this, Jane. Blah, 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 blah. Now it's happening to her. And the brain is no longer what it once was. So hopefully by understanding that, for us to turn around and tell somebody, Jack, no, the Viet Cong aren't around anymore. We're not worrying about them anymore. Just meet
close to home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
But for us to argue a point with someone, if they happen to have dementia or someone who has some other chronic illness, to tell them, you're not acting like you're in pain. I've known people who are in cancer, who had cancer, and their loved ones looking at them saying, you're not acting like you're in pain. Get up, come on, let's go. We can't tell what another person feels. And the sooner we understand that, it's not about us. In everyday life, it's about us. And I'll just say this in conclusion. As soon as we realize if we can meet a person where they are, life will become easier for us. If they start talking about Fluffy, who's Fluffy? My shepherd. You haven't had a dog in 20. Fluffy died in 1984. Why do you need to tell them that? Let's go look for Fluffy. I'll go look for Fluffy. Take a moment, go look for Fluffy. You know what you have now? I've got a break. You gave yourself a 20-second break. But you also stopped them from getting upset. Okay, I didn't get the waffles quick enough with my Aunt Pat. She could have Eggos by the toaster oven or by the toaster. And if she started seeing behaviors changing, drop a couple of those puppies in there, pop them in there, pull it out, cut it up, get it in front of him, fix the waffles as normal, give him the new waffles. Uncle Gene might have been happy. So hopefully today has been a way for us to understand that we have to look after ourselves. By some of the tips we've shared with one another today, hopefully it'll help make life a little bit easier for us. But we have to look after ourselves. We have to look out for ourselves physically. We have to look after ourselves emotionally. We have to look after ourselves religiously, spiritually. We have to look after ourselves. Because, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to stop because we're over time. But until we realize it's not about us, we're meeting them where they are, then our lives are going to be hard. And we have to look after one another.